Hey and welcome. Today, we are diving headfirst into the brilliant, baffling world of paradoxes. Now, these aren't just clever little riddles, They are more like cracks in the very surface of logic, and they might just reveal something incredibly profound about how our own minds work. So let's kick things off with an absolute classic.
The liar's paradox. This sentence is false. Just let that sink in for a second. If the sentence is true, well, then what it says has to be correct, which means it has to be false. Okay, but if it's false, then it's lying, which, of course, makes the statement true. You see? It's this infinite loop, a snake swallowing its own tail. It just completely short-circuits our logic.
And that right there is the key. We're not actually here to solve these things. We're here to see what they reveal. A paradox is like a threshold, right? It's a place where our normal ways of thinking just grind to a halt. But what if that feeling of being stuck is actually pointing us towards something really important? This is the central mystery we are going to investigate together. What if every single paradox is basically a signpost, a clue, that points right back to the one doing the thinking? What are they trying to tell us about us?
So, let's start gathering our evidence. Our first clue is a pattern that pops up in both ancient philosophy and, weirdly enough, modern physics. And it's all about the incredibly tricky role of the observer.
Our first piece of evidence comes all the way from ancient Greece, with the famous Ship of Theseus. Now, the puzzle goes something like this. Over decades, every single part of a ship, every plank, every nail, every sail, is replaced one by one. So, the question is it still the Ship of Theseus? And then, here's the twist. What if somebody collected all the old original parts and built a second ship from them? Now which one is the real one?
You see, the puzzle isn't really about the ship at all. It's about how we define sameness. Identity, it turns out, isn't some property that's just in an object. It's a story that's told by an observer. And this applies directly to us. I mean, think about it. You are a Ship of Theseus. Your cells are constantly being replaced. Your memories shift. Your opinions change. So what makes you you? It's the continuous story you tell about yourself.
Okay. Now let's jump forward a few thousand years and see how this very same idea shows up in a much more modern puzzle, this time from the completely bizarre world of quantum mechanics. So this thought experiment, it just takes the observer problem to a whole new level. According to quantum physics, until we actually open the box and look, the cat is in what's called a state of superposition, meaning it's considered both alive and dead at the exact same time. The very act of us observing forces reality to choose one state or the other. Wild, right? And there it is. That's our first clue. In both the ancient ship and the quantum cat, the paradox only exists because the observer isn't some neutral bystander. The act of looking, of defining, of measuring, it actually seems to change the system itself. We're part of the equation. Okay, so the observer is part of the system. Let's hang on to that idea and look for our second clue. This one shifts away from observation and more towards motivation, and it reveals a pattern that we can call the pursuer's trap. Now, this paradox feels much more personal. It's about the search for one of the most sought-after things in life, plain old happiness. It's such a simple but profound idea. The more you obsessively pursue happiness, the more it just seems to slip right through your fingers. Happiness, it turns out, is kind of shy. It usually shows up as a byproduct, a side effect of being engaged in meaningful work or deep relationships, not when you put it directly in the crosshairs. So the problem isn't the goal of being happy. It's the self-focused, grasping nature of the one who's doing the chasing. That very thought, I need to be happy right now, creates a kind of tension that is the exact opposite of what happiness feels like. And that's our second clue. The harder we chase something, whether it's happiness or certainty or whatever, the very act of chasing can push it away. The seeker, so often, just gets in their own way. All right, let's turn to our third and final clue. This one is all about the very tools we use to make sense of the world, our words and our categories. This is another gem from ancient Greece that seems incredibly simple on the surface, but it actually reveals a fundamental limit in how we think. And it's all about a simple heap of sand. Okay, just follow the logic with me here. One grain of sand is not a heap. We can all agree on that. And adding just one more grain of sand to something that isn't a heap can't magically turn it into one, can it? So if you follow that logic, you can actually never form a heap. But we all know heaps exist. We've all seen them. So where did the logic go wrong? Well, the answer is that the paradox isn't out there in the sand, it's in our words. Reality is this smooth, continuous gradient. But words like heap or bald or rich, they force us to draw these sharp, artificial lines where none actually exist. We are the ones who make up the boundaries.
And this right here reveals our final clue. Our language, our concepts, all our mental models, they're all incredibly useful maps. But they are not the territory of reality itself. And when we forget that, we get lost in paradoxes that we ourselves created.
Okay, we've gathered our clues. The observer is in the system, the pursuer is the trap, and our maps are not the territory. I think it's time to put it all together.
So we've seen how our very observation changes reality, how our pursuit can actually obstruct the goal, and how our labels create problems that don't even exist in the world itself. Are you noticing a common theme running through all of this? All of these clues, from ancient Greece all the way to quantum physics, they all seem to be pointing to one single common source, one culprit behind all the confusion. So what is it?
It's us. Or to be a little more specific, it's the part of us that insists on a fixed, stable, consistent identity. An I that needs clear boundaries, that needs definite answers, and that needs a world that fits neatly into its little boxes. This rigid self just cannot handle contradiction. And that is the ultimate reveal. The problem isn't with reality. Reality is totally full of things that are true and false, changing and constant, one thing and another, all at the same time. The paradox only becomes a problem for a mind that cannot hold both ends of the contradiction. So maybe paradoxes aren't a flaw in the universe. Maybe they're an invitation for us to develop a mind and a sense of self that's spacious enough to hold it all.